which members of the public don't get, mostly.
No. Well, I recently watched a DVD with you and Andrew Austin about improvisation, and when I learned hypnotherapy, it was very much emphasised on scripts and using a rigid template. So it doesn't matter who's in front of you, as long as you stick to this template, you're good to go. But right from the start, I understood the importance of being able to think on your feet and not rely on those scripts. Do you think that ability to think on your feet is a missing link with some people, some trained therapists? And I notice that on, like you said, on the provocative change work, it has an emphasis on improvising and providing feedback from the person that's in front of you.
I think the ability to be able to think on their feet, think sitting down, and think full stop is useful. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the time, people don't. Here's the thing: a lot of the time, people don't think. I've been on courses where literally the trainers, God bless them, are almost reading a script, so everything is set patterns, set information. Now, the difficulty with scripts is it's a bit like if you've ever had the misfortune of anybody try and sell you something through telesales and they're working off a script. The first thing is it doesn't sound very interesting because they're reading something visually external and they're just feeding it back out auditory external. So the brain is just literally, hello, Mr. Jones, I'm calling from XYZ. It doesn't sound very interesting. The second thing is the person isn't engaging their own experience, their own dynamic range of expression, so they're not having to think about what they're saying, so they're basically just repeating something. So again, we're back to the flat pack furniture kind of thing, box it up, ship it out, sell it cheap, or in NLP cases, not particularly cheap, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what you end up with is something that's extremely bland and mostly not effective. One of the things I'm doing in Boulder in a few weeks' time is I'm doing a big chunk of a day on being able to do fluid hypnotic inductions and communications on the fly. Now, of course, all hypnosis is trance, although some people seem to insist it's not. All communication is trance because it's all about people going in and out of different states and how you take people in and out of different states, whether it's done directly, indirectly, conversationally, humorously, anecdotally, in whatever way. It's all hypnosis, it's all communication. So if you're watching sort of, say, a wonderful episode of The West Wing, or if you're doing an induction with a client, all of these things are taking people in different directions. And the difficulty with NLP and hypnosis is that they have this whole status idea that because I can run off a few copied patterns from someone else, I now have this great ability to hypnotize or communicate with people. The proof is to be able to work with members of the public who have no awareness or background in any of this, and to be able to do something that's really useful with them. So that requires being able to have good tonality, voice intonation, grasp of metaphors, language, modal operators, all these different things, and to be able to do it in a very easy conversational way. Most people can't do that. There's very few people I've seen that can actually do that, and I'm constantly surprised that, even when I get trainers come to workshops, they tend to be very flat in terms of dynamics and tonality. And of course, one of the things with provocative change works and provocative therapy is that you really have a wide range of expression. So the ability for a person to use that expression is one of the key things to be able to change client states and to be able to really communicate and help and develop useful results for people.
Did you really get that skill from watching Frank Farrelly and seeing how he worked then? That use of thinking on the feet and just going off on the fly.
Well, some of it's from that. I also did drama for 2 years back in my teens, which is a whole different story, which we probably don't have time for. With mostly women as well, which is definitely a benefit. The ability to be able to just let go of fixed structures and to work in an improvised way is the same thing for a musician. It's useful to be able to know how to play songs, how to be able to read guitar tab and how to play with other people. But it's also useful to be able to just improvise and to be able to change things around. The best trainers, the best practitioners are able to have a real variety and flexibility in how they operate. In, for example, provocative change works as an approach. There's three main constituents. There's the provocative aspect, of which there are a minimum of 36 different stances that you can adopt in interacting with potential other party. There's also the hypnosis aspect, where there's a lot of metaphor exploration, indirect hypnosis, direct hypnosis, and specific exercises like the voice tempo exercise, which I use extensively, which was published in Steve Andreas' last book, and the ability to be able to time frame things so that you're able to take the client session, which is recorded, and you speak in a way that it's framed so when they listen back to it in their present, they're hearing what's said in their present as well. A lot of this is explained on provocativechangeworks.com, but it means you've got to really pay attention to what you're doing and not just read off a script, something that's been read many times before. Yeah. You have to really watch and listen to what's happening.
Okay, so we're nearing the end of the interview, and before we go, I was wondering if you could talk about what people could expect if they're coming to see you in Boulder with your training, and also what future plans you have in regards to training in the UK, or any products that you might be coming out with.
Sure. Well, Boulder is going to be very much 3 days on the latest elements of provocative change works. So in Boulder, we're going to be doing really in-depth the different stances that are apparent in provocative therapy, and I also use in provocative change works. So a lot of exercises, a lot of demonstrations, a lot of in-depth discussion. And it's an advanced group. I mean, the Boulder group, you have to be minimum NLP practitioner to even be able to apply for it. And also going to be doing a lot of stuff on hypnotic patterns from the human alchemy sort of perspective, and how to work with clients and use client notes, use audio recordings to set up feedback loops so the client starts to develop and generate really useful insights. In terms of events in the UK, I'm at the NLP conference in November, where I'm doing a morning session on what provocative therapy is from an NLP perspective. I'm also doing workshops when I get back from Boulder, Colorado. I'm also doing workshops in Hungary. I'm doing 3 days in Hungary and then a 1-day internal workshop for previous participants. Then I'm in Poland doing a workshop there. And then next year I'm in Japan, America, France, Spain, Hungary, Poland, and India so far.
So you're racking up the air miles then?
So I'm in India with Andy T back end of next year. In terms of products, there will be more products coming out. At the moment, the two main Provocative Changeworks products are Provocative Changeworks for Anxiety, which is specifically working with clients with those kinds of issues, anticipatory anxiety, public speaking, insomnia. That's a DVD set, which is on nickkemp.com. And there's also Provocative Changeworks Live in America, which is everything I did at the Advanced Mastery Training last year, where you'll see in the audience you've got almost like a who's who of NLP trainers. You've got Steve, Connie Ray, Charles Faulkner, Danny Below, Lucas Dirks, you name it, they're all there. That's a great set of demonstrations with clients, also a member of the public demonstration there. So it's a real life, vibrant, interactive learning environment. And that's my aim. I'm going to be videoing the Boulder sessions, and we may well be releasing some of that in the future as well.
So you're certainly getting about a bit, Nick.
Yeah, well, Japan's going to be very different. We're doing 2 workshops in February, going to be in Tokyo, also in Hiroshima. Then I come back, then I'm in New York with Doug O'Brien doing the project Stories from the Outside In, on which there is a website, Stories from the Outside In, INN.com.
It looks like you're a big fan of New York as well from your Facebook.
Well, it is. And the Stories Workshop, again, is about being able to use metaphors, delivering communication, being able to be in the moment, being able to work on the fly, and to have a really creative set of skills. So that project also is fantastically got my interest, because we get the participants creating pieces of work and producing videos that are shown at the end of the workshop. So again, it's about producing a piece of work and creating something rather than just simply emulating or repeating what you heard somebody else see or do. So it's quite different in terms of a dynamic.
It's very practical orientated by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not practical, then it might be something to do if there was nothing on daytime TV or you didn't want to take the dog out for a walk. But it's kind of nice, I think, to be able to produce something which is useful and beneficial for people. And, you know, I mean, I give some trainers a little bit of a hard time, but it's only because I want people to engage in a discussion to produce a better quality of work. Not necessarily what I agree with. I'm happy to agree to disagree. There are a number of people where I think, you know what, that's not really my thing. But hats off to them. At least they're consistently developing and refining an approach, which is, from what I can see, certainly of interest and benefit to certain people.
Brilliant. Well, that concludes the interview. I really appreciate the interview that you've done today, and you provide some really good answers. So thanks a lot for that.
Well, thanks, because I think your questions. I mean, I get all kinds of requests for interviews, and some I go no, because they're sort of like a little bit wacky. But I think the questions were good questions, and I think the important thing in all these things is that there's a discussion going on. We don't have to agree we don't have to agree on anything. In fact, I think it's healthy for people to agree to disagree on some things, but at least that there's a discussion going on. And the whole idea of provoking or stimulating ideas is that you produce something that's going to be useful for people.
Absolutely. There's nothing wrong in a good debate, as they say.
So I appreciate your interest in asking the questions, and you know, if anybody wants to know anything more about me, then I'm very easy to find. Just look at nickkemp.com or nickkemptraining.com, and you'll see those main sites and then an army of ancillary sites linked from those.
Good. Well, thanks a lot for that, and enjoy your time in Boulder as well.
I will do. Good talking to you, Aaron.
Okay, see you later.
Okay, bye.
Bye.